January 10th, January 23rd, New Style. The memory of the Venerable Paul, Abbot of Obnora. The Venerable Paul was born and raised in the illustrious city of Moscow. Although his parents desired to arrange a marriage for him, St. Paul declined, and secretly leaving his parental home, took nothing with him. He retreated to an area known as Preluki, which was in the possession of the monastery of the Holy Trinity, founded by the Venerable Sergius of Rostov. In the monastery dedicated to the Nativity of our Lord Jesus Christ, the blessed youth embraced monastic life. After a short stay, St. Paul moved to the hermitage of the Venerable Sergius, spending 15 years under the spiritual guidance of the great elder, living in a hermitage cell. Later, St. Paul sought the blessing of the Venerable Sergius to withdraw into the wilderness and live in complete solitude, moving from one place to another. The ascetic then journeyed to Lake Belia, to the monastery of the Dormition of the Most Holy Theotokos, founded by St. Cyril. There, St. Paul lived for some time in a secluded cell before retreating once again into the wilderness near the Odrel River. After a brief solitude there, the Venerable Paul came to the Galich region, settling in the great wilderness of the Most Holy Theotokos, where he occupied a hermitage cell. However, he was expelled from there by the monastery's abbot and moved to Gorodets on the Volga, where he resided in the Fyodorovsky monastery. Subsequently, he engaged in eremitical labors in various desert places until he reached the Komel forest. In the Komel forest on the bank of the Grazovitsa River, the Venerable Paul settled in the hollow of a large tree. He spent 3 years in this hollow, dedicating day and night to prayer, fasting, and tearful supplication to God. Later, St. Paul moved to the location where his honorable monastery now stands, and there he remained until the end of his life, observing strict fasting. His sustenance consisted only of bread and water in very small quantities, which he consumed only on Saturdays and Sundays. On the other days, St. Paul abstained from food, devoting all his time in his secluded cell to prayer and glorification. The blessed hermit endured great privations for the sake of Christ, experiencing many trials from demons, all of which he endured with the help of God's grace. Once demons attacked the hermitage of the Venerable Paul, intending to destroy it. However, the blessed Paul was not frightened by demonic schemes and disgraced the devil by the power of the cross of Christ. On another occasion, robbers assaulted him, inflicting severe beatings and robbing his cell, leaving the hermit bound hand and foot. St. Paul lay in his cell for several days until, by God's inspiration, kind people came to the wilderness, untied the blessed elder, and rescued him. St. Paul endured all this without complaint for the sake of the name of Christ. To the hermitage cell of the venerable ascetic, a multitude of forest birds flocked. Wild and bloodthirsty beasts also came to him, becoming gentle through the prayers of the saint and obediently following his commands. St. Paul heard the church bells and saw light at the spot where the Trinity Church was later built. Accompanied by his disciple Alexis, the Venerable Paul went to Moscow and shared this heavenly revelation with Metropolitan Photius. The hierarch blessed the saint to build a church in his wilderness, ordained Alexis as a presbyter, and generously donated funds for the construction of the church before sending the saint back in peace. Returning to the Komel wilderness, the Venerable Paul built a church dedicated to the Holy Trinity, gathered a brotherhood, and established a monastery. He appointed the aforementioned monk, Alexis, as the abbot. The Blessed Father himself continued to live in his secluded cell, coming to the monastery only on Saturdays and Sundays to instruct his disciples. He lived according to the commandments of the Lord and the teachings of the Holy Fathers. Around that time, the Tatars attacked the city of Kostroma, setting it on fire and plundering the surrounding settlements. Many Orthodox Christians were killed by the infidels, while others were taken captive along with their wives and children into slavery. Soon after these events, the Venerable Paul reposed in the Lord, departing from the toils of this transient life to eternal and ineffable repose, leaving a bright memory of himself among his disciples. The Venerable Paul reposed on January the 10th, 1429, at the age of 112.